Hey guys, welcome back. So if you follow me on the Bang Switch, my blog, you'll know that for the last 6-7 months, I've been contemplating a switch from my daily carry handgun, which is this Glock 19 with a Fail Zero finish on it, switching from this to something else. And what's prompted that switch, you may ask? Well, if you follow the blog, you'll know that one of the pistols that I've considered is the Smith & Wesson M&P Core with a Trijicon RMR red dot sight. Now, I love the pistol, love the sight. Unfortunately, Smith & Wesson has yet to pull their collective heads out of their rear ends and offer a Glock 19 sized M&P pistol. So until they do, the handgun is just simply too big, even for me at 6'4", to carry it comfortably and conceal it well. I carry inside the waistband. So I've pretty much abandoned that pistol as my daily carry pistol. So I'm back to looking at pistols about the same size as the Glock 19. I've also decided, because of this last winter, that I really should revisit the idea of carrying a double-action pistol. I stopped carrying double-action pistols a decade ago or better because the striker-fired pistol, like the Glock, came along, and I really like the single trigger pull. I don't like multiple different trigger pulls. So I just liked the striker-fired pistols for that reason. I also like the fact that pistols like the Glock have no manual safety. All the safeties are passive, including the dingus on the trigger. And so I just kind of got away from the double-action pistol, but they have one very distinct advantage over pistols like my Glock 19. They typically have larger trigger guards and openings for your hand. This past winter here in Indiana, it has been brutal. I wound up wearing gloves most of the time that I was outside, something I don't typically do because most of the time our winters are, at least for the last 5 years or so, fairly mild, not too cold. So I just stick my hands in my pocket if my hands got cold. This winter, completely different. I had thick gloved hands on most of the time, and I realized that getting to the trigger of my G19 with a gloved hand on proved to be challenging. Now, I could cram my trigger finger into the trigger guard, but I advise against doing that simply because the pistol has no safety. If I have a big thick finger and I cram it and I force it in here, I can hit that little dingus and fire the gun. There's nothing preventing that from happening. So it just made me uncomfortable. My plan was to strip my glove off my hand and then go for my defensive carry gun if I needed to. Not exactly ideal. So for that reason, I've been kicking around the idea of perhaps going to a double-action pistol. You're probably asking me, hey Mac, what the heck was that double-action pistol you held up that looked like a CZ75? This is the new Kriss SDP Compact. This is a Swiss-made pistol. While it looks like a CZ75, it has some distinct differences. I'll do a full review on this handgun very soon, but what I will say is this is one very nice handgun. It's Swiss-made, much like Swiss watches. This thing is finely made, has a great feel to it, and it shoots exceptionally well. So this is one of the pistols that I'm considering carrying. Now you'll notice that the handgun is Glock 19 sized. Okay, so I'm trying to stick to that size, and this pistol certainly meets those requirements. The other pistol that I'm considering, and if you guys follow me on Instagram or on Facebook, you'll know, because I posted a picture yesterday, is the Lionheart LH9. This pistol has really impressed me, and one of the things that really impresses me about the pistol is that it allows me to carry it in a mode that kind of negates that double-action trigger pull. Go watch the video, I'll put a link down below, but in essence I can push the hammer forward on a live round, not worry about having to fire the pistol, and then when I pull the trigger, it has a very light trigger pull that'll stage that hammer. Then if you pull it further, we'll fire the gun. So you can draw this pistol very quickly, bring it up and fire it, but it doesn't have that same disruptive effect on your hold as a standard double action pistol would. Very much impressed by this handgun. I've put about 1,000 rounds through it. It's been extremely reliable. I do trust this handgun. It too, despite the fact it's a full-size service handgun for the South Korean military, it too is Glock 19 sized. I've been carrying it now for the last few days. I just picked up my contact concealment holster for it. I'll show you guys what that looks like. And it carries very nicely. Again, very impressed with the Lionheart pistol. So it's one of the pistols that I'm considering a switch to. Now, one of the things I don't like about the Lionheart is it has this manual safety on it. I hate safeties on my carry guns, especially double action autos, but I can see why it's necessary. Most military handguns do have safeties on them. So I'm trying to get around the fact that I need to practice when I draw the pistol to make sure I have that safety off. Something I just hate having to train myself to do, but it's something you can certainly learn how to do. with the Sphinx, the Swiss-made pistol. It does have a hammer drop safety on it. So much like some of the more modern CZs, you can manipulate the safety and drop the hammer. It is present on both sides of the handgun. Drop the hammer to double action, but then it has a standard double action pull, which is really heavy, 15 pounds. Relatively short for double action, but still it has that somewhat disruptive effect on your hold. The single action on the pistol is extremely nice. Extremely nice. The double action, kind of an average double action. The sights on the Sphinx are really nice sights, high profile, have just a no dot rear sight, nice big ears, and a dot in the front. I do like that arrangement. On the Lionheart, I have a 3-dot system with night sights, which I actually prefer. The Sphinx doesn't have night sights on it. So these are Novak sights. Big fan of Novak sights, good carry sights. But the sights I love are the sights that I put on this handgun. I've put on most of my Glocks I've carried, which are the Trijicon HD sights. Some folks don't like these. This one I have with an orange dot up here in the front. You can get different colored dots. Some folks don't like the fact that the blades on the rear sights sweep to the rear and they're somewhat sharp. They can tear up clothing, gouge you in your sight if you got a little bit of a love handle. I haven't had a problem with them. I actually like them quite a bit. But so those are the handguns I'm considering. I'm also considering picking up a CZ75 compact with the Omega trigger system in it. I was just up at the gun shop again today, just before coming out to shoot this video, checking them out, kind of hem-hawing around about buying one. I love the CZ series of pistols, although it would be very similar to a pistol I already own, which is the Sphinx. But I really like that Omega trigger system. It has a factory trigger that's very, very light, really, really nice. But to be honest with you, this Sphinx, the trigger on it is very similar to the factory trigger now on the CZs. So anyway, let's just take a little bit closer look at these 3 handguns. I will be doing a full review on the Sphinx here very soon, and you guys have already seen the Glock 19, heard me ramble on about it over the years. So anyway, let's just do a little bit of shooting here really quick with these different handguns. I really like that third action that the Lionheart brings to the table, that double action plus, which is being able to load the handgun, put it around the chamber, push the hammer forward, and have that really light trigger pull, which basically sets the hammer just before firing, versus having that really heavy, long double action trigger pull. I like that feature, but however, you want to be careful. I don't recommend practicing like this, bringing the handgun up, setting the trigger to the single action mode, then firing. I don't recommend doing that, either in practice or in a life-threatening situation. Here's why. It's all too easy because that trigger is so light. If you think that you're going to bring the weapon up, point it at the threat, but you still haven't made that conscious decision to fire the weapon. If you think, well, I'm just going to set it to single action in case I need to use it, what you might wind up doing is, because you're stressed and have adrenaline flowing, you may wind up actually going just a little bit too far and firing the gun prematurely and shooting somebody you didn't intend to shoot. Very, very potentially bad situation. So I recommend practicing doing this. Draw the weapon. When you're ready to shoot, put your finger on the trigger and just pull the trigger. Fire it. Don't set the trigger. Other than that, I really am liking the Lionheart LH9. I just wish it didn't have that manual safety. Man, I'm telling you, the Sphinx is one of those pistols I'm really, really liking. It's a top contender in a double action carry pistol for me. It may be the one I go with, I don't know. But the gun feels really good in the hand. It does have adjustable back straps. You can take this one off and replace it with other ones that come in the box with the handgun. But that double action pull is just kind of a short double action. It's not as disruptive to my sight picture as other double actions I've used in the past. It's very easy to keep that group size really small, despite the fact that first shot is a heavy double action pull. And then of course every subsequent shot is a much lighter single action pull. In single action mode, holy cow, this thing is deadly accurate. I mean, I can shoot this thing so well. I attribute that probably to the fine craftsmanship, high quality barrel and stuff like that, but also the very good ergonomics of the CZ type pistol. It feels really good. The controls are far out of the way, so you're not going to accidentally get false locks or accidentally keep it from locking open. But you also, if you have small hands, you may find that you have a hard time reaching the slide stop or slide release. You might find that you have to rotate the gun in your hands. Also, the gun cannot be carried cocked and locked. You can carry it cocked, which I don't recommend, because you cannot push that safety lever up. It only decocks the pistol. But again, that double action is really something that I've gotten used to. Let's take a look at the Kydex holster that I'm wearing. These are the same holsters that I have for all the guns out here today, my Glock 19, the Sphinx, and the Lionheart. It's a Kydex holster. It's made by Contact Concealment. It rides up, has a sweat guard here, and it's an inside the waistband holster. This clip has 2 screws on it, which allows you to replace the clip should you break it, but also allows you to adjust the tension, how tightly that thing clips your belt. It slides in very, very easily into your waistline. You can push it down into your pants, get the clip over your belt, and go. It's really handy if you take your kids to school. You don't want to carry your gun into school, or if you live in a state like Illinois, for example, where just about every building you go into has a sign up saying no firearms, and it's actually a crime to carry in some of those places. Yeah, this holster makes it really, really easy to get your handgun off, even in the seated position of your car. You can easily take it out, put it in the center console, and again, when it comes time to put it back on, without having to do a dance in the car, like if you had a super tuck on or something like that, you can put it back on very easily. Also, the clip is very positive. You'll notice that when I pull the gun out, it's not pulling the holster out. That clip grabs that belt very positively. I've never had a problem with it. And also, you can adjust the tension, how tightly the holster holds the gun with these 2 screws right here. I'll put a link down below to Contact Concealment. Outstanding company, makes a very good holster, and these are the holsters I've been carrying now for the last couple of months. Good stuff. With the Glock, and this is a glove that you'll see in a lot of my videos. It's just a standard mechanics tactical glove. It's a little bit thicker than some of the other mechanics gloves out there. Has some padding here around the finger. But when I grab my pistol and go to stick my trigger finger into the trigger guard, you can see how the material's bunching up right here. I'm having to force the trigger finger into the trigger guard, and in a hurry I could easily, you know, push too hard and fire the gun, especially if you've modified your Glock trigger whatsoever. That dingus is right there, and it, of course, has no manual safety. So that's the issue. It's that material that, as I'm trying to stick my finger into the trigger guard, and this isn't even a thick gloved finger like a winter glove. I foolishly left those at home. I meant to bring them, I just kind of forgot. I just had these in the Jeep. But if you have a much thicker finger, or I'm sorry, a much thicker glove on with more material around the index finger, you'll have an even harder time getting the trigger finger into the trigger guard. Now conversely, let's take a look at the double action trigger of the Sphinx. I can grab the gun, and there's so much room around the trigger, I can easily get a gloved finger into the trigger guard. Let me show you from the other side. You can see there's ample room for me to get a gloved finger in there. Now also notice that I can push that trigger back a little bit, and because it's double action, I'm not going to accidentally do that and fire the gun. I mean, it's just, the trigger pull is just way too long, and that's why I'm considering a switch to a double action handgun versus my striker fired Glock 19. But I tell you what, guys, it's really, really tough giving up the Glock 19. It's just a good shooting handgun. The only thing that I'm having a problem with right now is the rather smallish trigger guard, and the fact that with a thick glove finger sticking it in there, it's just kind of hard. Some of the gloves I have, I can't even get my finger in the trigger guard at all. If I force it in there, I could accidentally fire the gun. I just don't want to do that. But the gun shoots good, feels good, carries perfectly. It's nice and lightweight, has 15 rounds. I have 13 rounds in the Lionheart. I do have 15 rounds in the Sphinx. But yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. If you guys have any ideas about handguns I should possibly consider, go ahead and post those down in the comments below, and I'll take a look. I do have to buy these guns, so I don't have unlimited funds, but I'll take your suggestions into consideration. Also, please swing by and check us out on Facebook if you get a chance. You can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/military arms. You can also find us on Google+, If you're watching this on YouTube, just look up there towards the top of the screen, look for that little Google Plus button, give that a click, check us out over there. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Again, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you guys soon.